Do you remember your first memory with watches?
It was actually that exhibition from 1991. I was less than 8 years old. I remember I visited the exhibition, I understood what was a Reverso, and that was my first contact
The
with
60th anniversary Reverso exhibition
60th anniversary.
in Italy that we're talking about.
Exactly. My grandfather was working for the Italian distributor of Jaeger, Audemars Piguet, and Vacheron Constantin, and he was taking care of the north of Italy. So this was mid-50s. At the end of the 50s, the distribution company closed, and they asked my grandfather whether he wanted to take one of the three brands for distribution for the whole of Italy. And out of the three, he chose Jaeger because it was the manufacturer. And Jaeger was already supplying the two brands with movements and other components, so the choice for him was obvious, and he chose Jaeger-LeCoultre.
In 1931, the Reverso was born out of necessity. It wasn't just another watch, it was a solution. LeCoultre's head of commercial at the time, César Bétret, took a trip to India, and while there saw troops from the British military playing polo while wearing their wristwatches. Looking for a way to protect their timepieces during matches, this sparked an idea that would have LeCoultre's engineer meet the challenge head-on, crafting a case that could flip over to shield its delicate dial. A watch that could endure a polo match without losing its elegance. This was more than just a clever design. It was a statement.
You see here this extension is 1866. It was stuck to the original building where we welcome each other. Then this was added in 1888, and this operated most of 1950-60 until it was decided to create this building that came to life in the 70s. And there is another one that comes in front that was added also in around the year 2000 for a total of 25,000 square meters.
This is Mathieu Sarre, Jaeger-LeCoultre's Product and Heritage Director. He'll take us behind the scenes to explore what makes the Reverso not just a watch, but an enduring symbol of innovation and tradition.
The time when we started making watches in the late 1920s was a time marked by design movement, which was called the Art Deco. It was breaking from the Art Nouveau, which was a lot of roundness, and the Art Deco was really governed by form follow function. And it impacts not only on art, but on designs, on the way people were writing, on the way we were advertising, on architecture, of course. The Reverso is really true to the Art Deco period because it came with these straight lines, the purity in the design, which was really modern and really breakthrough at the time.
It's obviously the defining feature of the Reverso case, the swivel design, and you pulled out for us actually a copy of the original patent, which is dated March 1931, it looks like.
A few months after that, we tasked a casemaker company from Geneva, which was called Wenger, to create the case of the Reverso that could swivel itself and show a closed case back. And this case also has the signature with the Godrons. So those three straight lines on top of the case, which really marked the Art Deco and sort of elongated the case.
One of the defining features of these first-generation Reversos was a stainless steel case created with Stay-Brite, an early stainless steel alloy designed to prevent corrosion. The dial was another strong feature of the time. A black dial, indices instead of numerals, and simple hands. Jaeger-LeCoultre dubbed the combination the dial of the future.
On the dial was only written Reverso. That was the defining feature on this watch because, well, first, Jaeger and LeCoultre didn't exist, and at the time, what we really wanted to put in front were the watches, the model of the watches, the Reverso, really to sell the Reverso as something, sort of a revolution in fine watchmaking.
We've got sort of the standard size here, about 39 by 23 millimeters, I think.
Yeah, 39, yeah.
But it was also from the beginning offered in a smaller size,
Yes.
so always sort of intended with men and ladies in
Yes,
mind, I
yes.
suppose.
So the smaller size was 33 millimeters, and as this was really rectangular design with the golden ratio in mind, this was a little thinner, more elongated, a bit more feminine in a sense, and also more often made of yellow gold. It was a success from the very beginning, but when it was launched, they wanted to go so fast that LeCoultre didn't have a proper caliber to place in the watch. At this time, watchmaking was not thinking in-house, and so if we didn't have something in-house, we would buy it elsewhere. But in 2 years, in 1933, they were able to develop the LeCoultre caliber to fit it in the Reverso. The first one was called 410. They now feature a second, either a small second or a central second. The dials are always the same in essence with the buttons, the indexes, but there are some other Reverso with different dials. The Dr. Reverso with the central second. It was called the Dr. Reverso because the central second allow you to calculate the pulse. Most of them now are branded LeCoultre until 1937, and in 1937, Jaeger-LeCoultre.
In the early 30s, Jacques-David-LeCoultre partnered with Edmond Jaeger, a visionary in watchmaking design, to create a workshop called Specialty Horology, dedicated to crafting high-precision movements for the world's most prestigious brands. Jacques David's technical ingenuity and Edmond's creative vision paved the way for the brand's transformation. By 1937, this union was formalized as Jaeger-LeCoultre, solidifying its identity as a fully integrated manufacturer, capable of every aspect of watchmaking, all under one roof.
Black lacquer, hands, figures, white or luminous, blue, red or brown dials on request. As I said, the black dial is extremely clear and the time can be easily read. It has a great future ahead, which is a bit of a different translation as the French. In France, they were even more optimistic about this black dial. They were saying, this is the dial of the future.
One of the most captivating aspects of the early Reverso models was the variety of dial designs Jaeger-LeCoultre offered. They were expressions of style, precision, and individuality, designed to appeal to a range of tastes. But perhaps the most personal touch of the Reverso came from the blank canvas of the caseback. Owners could engrave initials, family crests, or even intricate designs. Over time, Jaeger-LeCoultre elevated this tradition, offering exquisite enamel finishes that transformed the Reverso into a wearable work of art.
Probably one of the rarest Reverso, and that was worn by the very famous Douglas MacArthur.
I have to say, as someone who remembers the Douglas MacArthur Reverso appearing at auction maybe 10 years ago or so, I was really excited when you pulled this one out. One of the most important, from a personal provenance perspective at least, vintage Reversos to see.
This was also done directly by the casemaker, and all the crests or the initial that were made by the casemaker have been, archives in this book, so we can follow it along. And when the casemaker stopped making a Reverso case in the late 40s, early 50s, we could gather these crests and find inspiration in these books.
You've also got a couple of really beautiful enamel work watches that show a completely different side of Jaeger-LeCoultre's craftsmanship and ability to do things besides just engraving here.
So the enamel is quite an incredible story. And enameling was a very important craft in Geneva, but it was made for pocket watches, so it was much bigger. So I had to miniaturize it to fit on the back of a Reverso, which is really small. The first Reverso were sold actually to the military that were in India. And they were invited to the court of some Maharajas, and they showed the Reverso. And one Maharaja fell in love and commissioned the manufacturer to have the Reverso enamel with the portrait of his wife. Because miniature are actually a thing of India and Asia. Miniature portraits are really important. This watch was actually found in the 90s by a German pilot from Lufthansa on a trip to Mumbai. He found it in a shop. He bought it and later sold it at Dr. Crot's auction house, and we were able to buy it. The enameling is so vivid and it looks like it has been done yesterday. It's most likely the most important watch that is held today in the 3,000 watches that we have in our museum.
In its early years, the Reverso captured the imagination of watch enthusiasts around the world. But with the outbreak of World War II, priorities shifted, and the watch industry turned its focus to practicality and round watches, leaving the Reverso to fade quietly into the background. By the 1970s, it seemed the Reverso might remain a relic of the past.
Maybe someday all watches will be made this way.
The watch industry had made a major shift with the quartz crisis, as inexpensive, mass-produced quartz watches disrupted traditional mechanical watchmaking. But it was precisely during this challenging period that the Corvo family, led by Giorgio Corvo, recognized the enduring value of the Reverso. His unwavering belief in its timeless design played a key role in rescuing it from obscurity, setting the stage for its return.
At that time, orders were taken in a much different way. So there was Baselworld, of course, but distributors were often coming to the manufacturer to talk with the management, with the watchmakers, and to see whether they could create something specifically for their market. We're talking changing dials, changing hands, not creating something from scratch. And my grandfather found in some drawers, apparently, with some of the technicians, 200 Reverso cases that were lying there from the 30s. And he asked Jaeger if they could produce those watches for him. And initially they said no, because they didn't have movements, they didn't have dials. So the only thing they had were those 200 cases of stay bright steel. He managed to enclose a movement of the ovetto, so the oval movement, the caliber 840, in one of those cases with a circle d'emboîtage that have been made in Milano by our watchmakers. So he showed Jaeger that it could have been done. After some back and forth, they agreed to recreate and reproduce those 200 Reversos.
How was he received by the Swiss watchmaker at that time?
At the beginning, they were reluctant, but he managed to convince them. And they said, okay, we do these 200 pieces, but then we don't want to hear about this anymore, you know?
They thought they'd be done with you after that,
Yeah,
huh?
exactly. They thought it'd be done.
Thanks to the Corvo family's dedication, the Reverso returned, stronger than ever, blending modern innovations with its classic Art Deco charm. It was a testament to the appeal of the Reverso's enduring design. A new dial was also designed for the Corvo Reverso, a beautiful white or gray, signed Jaeger-LeCoultre, 100 of each color. The Roman numerals, in particular, set the gray dial apart from most other Reversos. Corvo managed to sell all 200 watches in less than 3 months.
The success have been so immediate that in the end they wanted to rework on it. And it happened in the years after when they re-engineered the case and they put back in production the watch.
Matthew brought something out for you, Jacopo. It says, I might as well have you say it because it says it in Italian.
Campagna Italia 1979. Basically, a distributor's work was not only to do the commercial part, but also to take care of the marketing, the PR, the after sale. And this was advertising, magazines and newspapers in Italy like Panorama.
I saw Vogue in
There's
there, I know.
Vogue.
A lot of the pages are focused on the Reverso, not exclusively, but I assume that speaks to that being the popular watch at the time, especially for Jaeger-LeCoultre in Italy.
Absolutely. The end of the 70s were a turning point. When the new Reverso case came out, everybody started to want a Reverso. And especially at the end of the 70s, the 80s were the years where the trend became more and more popular among watch collectors in Italy. And, you know, Italian collectors have always been very refined. They like classic shapes, slim watches, and the Reverso was just perfect for them.
Over the next few years, Jaeger-LeCoultre worked with other case manufacturers to make a new case for the Reverso. This era often features a quartz movement and is identifiable at a glance, only having 2 gadroons instead of 3. The first attempt at a new case was not so sturdy, however, and the complexity of the swivel design prevented the case makers from producing them quickly.
The case of the Reverso is probably as complex as a caliber of a watch. So when the success of the Reverso was there, in the 70s, we said, how are we going to make cases again? And this was the great challenge in the late 70s and the early 80s for LeCoultre. So the case was fully re-engineered in-house, and this was much more complex than the original case, and a system of swiveling which is much more sturdy and resilient. And the firstborn of these watches was this case, which is called the Reverso Classic. It has the same dimension of the original Reverso, so 39 millimeter. What is different there is that they started with a new dial, which now we call the classic dial, which has numerals, keeps the rail track, but numerals in black on a white dial. This completely breaks with the watches of the 30s, which had indexes and color dials.
Like those original watches from the 1930s, though, alongside the Classique also released smaller Reversos,
Yes.
and on bracelets too.
And this is called Dame, lady in French. It is a smaller size, but it keeps the same rectangular ratio. And famously, those two watches were equipped with a caliber 846, which is an evolution of the Corvo used caliber. Also very small. When you see them, extremely thin and extremely well made.
The 1990s then became the golden age for the Reverso, with the introduction of the larger Grand Tie Reverso case, a more versatile model that brought the Reverso back to the forefront of watchmaking. And to go along with it, a new movement in the caliber 822, a design very reminiscent of the early caliber 410 from the 1930s. 1991 marked the 60th anniversary of the Reverso, and to celebrate, Jaeger-LeCoultre began adding complications to the watch for the first time.
The Reverso 60e, 60e means 60th in French. This was the first Reverso with the complications. The complication was a power reserve because, of course, this is manual winding. And from the 60th came a great generation of every other year. The historic complications of watchmaking reinvented for Reverso in the same size of the Grand Taille case, so 43 millimeter. Started with the power reserve, the tourbillon, the minute repeater, the chronograph, the geographic, which is a great complication of Jaeger-LeCoultre, and the perpetual calendar in the year 2000, all limited to 500 pieces.
This series of 6 watches in particular are real collector's items, limited editions in gold, hard to find nowadays, and a set of collectors really go crazy for them whenever they do appear. I think it illustrated that Jaeger-LeCoultre could use the Reverso to display something on obviously the dial side, but obviously the flip side as well. And you do that throughout the catalog, not just with collector's items like that. And I think that's what we've got on this last tray here to really show how complications and complicated watchmaking began to proliferate throughout the Reverso catalog.
Creating complication on Reverso also gave us this revolutionary idea, at least for Reverso, is to feature a second dial on the back of the watch, because the watch had been thought to protect itself. But with the unbreakable sapphire crystal, we were now able to have a watch that was swivel and to offer another complication on the back. And in 1995, we created the Reverso Duo Face. And this has completely changed the way Reverso was seen, Reverso was appreciated, and for us has created a blue ocean of creativity, because now we're able to feature the three-dimensionality of the watch. Jaeger-LeCoultre has been known from 1850 to the 1930s as the watchmaker of watchmaker and the king of complications, making triple complications pocket watches, so minute repeater, chronograph, perpetual calendar, for the greatest name out there. But then the Reverso came, and Reverso didn't have a complications. Reverso was in the height of the Art Deco time. 1972 was really the ignition, and I think we owe to the Corvo family and Giorgio Corvo a lot. In tough time, you usually succeed in doing what you do best. And I think for Jaeger-LeCoultre, it's probably to innovate. It's definitely two stories coming together and creating the legacy of Jaeger-LeCoultre today.
I wanted to ask, because as you speak, I'm catching a glimpse of the white dial Corvo Reverso. Of course, the first time I've ever seen one. Do you have any idea what went into the thought behind the design of those dials?
To be honest, absolutely no. And I never really spoke with my grandfather about it, because he passed away in 97,
Yep.
and I was still 13 years old.
Yeah.
My passion for watches was developed afterwards, and I wish I could have talked to him and understand what went into his mind, you know. I have my father's legacy and memories, but they're for sure different compared to what my grandfather could have said or could have, the insights that he could have told me, you know. I wish.
The Reverso's journey is a testament to creativity and resilience. From its birth as a solution for polo players to its revival through the Corvo family's vision, it has transcended its origins to become a true icon. Jaeger-LeCoultre's ability to unite technical innovation with timeless design ensures that the Reverso remains not just a watch, but a testament to the art of watchmaking.